name is Zach Caldwell. I'm from Rich Road, Pennsylvania, and I currently work as a nursing aide at St. Christopher's Hospital, but I'm also finishing up at school at Westchester for my nursing degree.
My name is Julie Ann Waldron, and I am the youngest of 3 kids. I grew up in a God-fearing family, very blessed, and probably about 10 minutes away from Zach's house. I go to East Stroudsburg for graduate school as a speech pathologist. I went to Calvary Christian Academy. Both my siblings graduated from there, so I started in kindergarten and I went all the way up to 6th grade. And Zach started at Calvary Christian Academy in 6th grade. And we were in the same class, Mrs. Goodykent's class.
I actually had a crush on her in 6th grade, but I didn't tell her that.
And he sat 3 people behind me in the same row. And that's how we met, love in 6th grade.
In 7th grade, we dated at youth group, saw each other once a week, held our hand while we prayed, stuff like that.
We dated for a couple months. No one knew. My mom found out through IM messaging. That was popular. And then I thought to myself, if Zach and I are really perfect for each other, which I thought we were, then God would place us in each other's lives later on in life, because it would be too hard to stay pure and be in a relationship for as long as it would be until we got married. So I only told one other person, my best friend Rachel, and she said, "All right, do it, Jewel, break up with him."
She said at the time it was because I was going to baseball camp or something like that. It was something small.
It was at the end of youth group, and I said, "I'm sorry, Zach, we got to break up." And he said, "Why?" And I didn't give him any reasons. And then I just left, and I ran to my dad's car, and then we left. And so he was mad at me for years, supposedly. But
then later on, when we actually started dating, back when I met her, then I met her in junior year of high school. And then once we got in our relationship and, got established, she told me that she broke up with me then because she didn't want to ruin it for later by dating in middle school and stuff. So I was like, I didn't believe her at first, but I believe her now.
In 11th grade, my parents gave me the option to either go on a cruise with them or go to winter retreat. And so I decided to go to winter retreat, and it just so happened that Zach Caldwell was there. We were in the gym, and Zach was playing dodgeball, and my friend saw him first. I didn't see him, and she came and ran over to me, and she said, "Julie, Zach Caldwell is here!" And I turn around, and it was like that movie moment, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, Zach's here!" And I was like, "All right, God, let's do this." So before that night meeting, I made my friend Rachel sit in front of him, a seat over, and I came strolling in a few minutes late, and I sat right in front of him, and he said, "Julie Waldron?" And I was like, "Zach, what are you doing here?" And then from then on, we started talking, and he got my number. It was really hard for him to try to get my number at the end of the retreat, but he did. And then he didn't text me for 4 days after the retreat, which is a lot for a 16-year-old girl. But he texted me on Valentine's Day and said, "Happy Valentine's Day, Julie." And then from then on, we went to each other's proms and started dating a few months after that, and the rest is history.
Sixth grade, my initial impression was, oh, she's cool. She's really small. She was really small in 6th grade. Borderline midget. She was really short. I mean, a 6th grader. I didn't really have too much of an in-depth perception. I was like, she's cute. I like her. She flirts with me. It's cool.
In 6th grade, I didn't really think about boys too much, so I probably didn't really think too much of him. But I think my first initial impression of him when we were in high school is how much he loved the Lord. And that's really what made him stand out to me. I think that's really what made me grow to love him.
But then junior year, when obviously we were older, my first impression of her was that she was 2 things. One, that she was real. She was authentic. She wasn't like a lot of other girls at all. And she had a heart of gold. Like I said, not like other girls in the fact that her heart of gold, she was just different. Like her relationship with Christ was real, and you could tell that she genuinely cared about others before herself. So that was my first impression of her, which obviously I was attracted to. So, and she was beautiful, so that helped out.
Our first date, he did not pay for me, and I was so mad. And I was so mad. And I talked to my youth leader at church, and I said how he didn't pay for me and how he wasn't a gentleman and whatever. So she's like, well, just try out a second date. Just try it out. And so I tried it out, and then he paid for me for the rest of our lives. So then it was worth it. But you should always pay for the lady. But we actually went shopping for Mother's Day gifts together. And then we went to Friendly's, and then we saw the movie Thor. So it's the first date when we were 16.
So, I mean, it wasn't the most romantic first date looking back on it, but we had a good time. I held her hand before that, but we held hands all day, so that was huge for us. And afterwards, she didn't like the movie Thor, but we had a great time together. And she'll tell you that I believe on the first day I didn't pay for dinner. We split dinner, but I paid for a movie ticket. And then looking back on it, she's like, why didn't you pay for my dinner the first date? I was like, it's playing hard to get, So maybe I didn't have enough money. I was only working at shopping back then too, so I don't know. I did.
Well, I knew that I loved him a lot earlier than he did, but the guy always has to say it first, and I didn't want to take that from him because Zach, he's like, hey, I'm a guy. But I wanted to tell him, we went on a senior retreat together, and I wanted to tell him on the first snowfall. So every time it snows for the first time, that it just reminds us of that. But I didn't, because another senior guy came with us at that moment and ruined it. But he picked me up for a date.
I wrote on the moonroof a big I love you sign. And so I was like, oh, let's drive down here. It was a little cold. I was like, let's go look at the stars.
He pulled off in the dark parking lot, and he had a sunroof. So we were going to go look at the stars, and he pulled the sunroof back, and it had a sign that said, I love you, Julie, and then he told me.
Throw it back, and it's right there, I love you. And she's like, oh my gosh. And then she obviously said, I love you too, and it's a cool moment. February-ish, I was just thinking in my head, I was like, how am I going to propose? I got to think of something good, something special.
He completely surprised me. We were going to meet at Rita's because Rita's is my favorite. He knew he could always get me to go to Rita's.
Cover was my sister and my parents were going to meet us there. They're done their game early. She's like, okay, we pull in the Rita's. They're closed, obviously. It's 10 or 11 in the morning. I was like, oh, well, they're not here yet. Rita's is probably opening soon. I have to go to the bathroom. Can you help me look for one in the theater right next door? She's like, oh, sure. Nothing usual. Apparently I always have to go to the bathroom.
And then he started pulling my hand to go into a movie theater. I was like, Zach, I'm not sneaking into a movie with you.
So we go into the theater, and then once we get into the theater, I'm like, hey, do you trust me? She's like, yeah, of course. I was like, come on. I grab her hand. And so we walk into the main theater.
He opened the door, and our favorite song was playing, and then he walked me down, and there was lights everywhere.
So it's all Christmas lights and everything like that. So she's like, she's like, oh my gosh. And so she's speechless. So I'm like, come on. And we walk down the stairs. There's rose petals all across the stage. I built an arch, had a table there with the Bible and roses, open to Ephesians 5. Then I read from Ephesians 5 to her, told her I loved her. I want to spend the rest of my life with her, and she makes me a better man. All the mushy stuff.
And then he proposed. And that wasn't it. He pulled me into the middle of the theater, and a movie started playing of him and his journey to get my ring. So.
And then we met our family in the lobby area. They were all there waiting for us. So that was cool. And then after the rest of the engagement day, we went and visited family, went out to eat dinner at Maggiano's. was a good day. Went perfectly. Complete surprised. So she was like crying. It was great. She needs time to process things. Where I like to I still need time to process things, but like if I make my mind up about something, like I'll do it. I'm way more stubborn than her in some ways. That's one of my weaknesses, but yeah, one of my strengths, depending on what situation I'm in.
I'm a little more understanding with people, and he's kind of more black and white. So
She's also more organized than I am. A lot.
I am very neat and a perfectionist, and Zach just doesn't care at all. He's kind of messy, and he just doesn't pay attention to detail. That kind of drives me up a wall.
I'd like to think I'm decently neat now, but I'm still a work in progress.
We're most similar in our views and in our faith, and that was what was most important to me.
All of our values line up exactly. Which is part of the reason why I want to marry her.
We're very open, like we tell people anything.
And we like to be real and authentic.
We're both very determined, goal-oriented.
We're always looking forward to the future and like how we could better each other, and in that way, I think that's how we're most alike. I think it would be stubbornness, because that frustrates her sometimes. Rightfully so. It would frustrate me if I was dealing with me. But but also I think she would tell you that it also can be good sometimes that I'm stubborn if I'm standing up for something that's right. But sometimes I'm just stubborn about things that don't really matter.
It would be that I work out. He really cares about not like my body image or anything, just that I be healthy. And sometimes I just don't care. And he really cares about me taking care of myself and reminding me to take my vitamins and work out and eat healthy, and because he wants me to live a healthy and long life and be together, and so that would be the number one thing he would change. Zach and I always say to each other how love is a commitment, not a feeling. And I feel like that's kind of our go-to phrase. And because, in the media and people in general, they just make love feel like it's something that you feel, and it's more infatuation than, sometimes being in love and loving someone it's a verb, you have to choose to love someone even when they're not having a good day. And sometimes you may not like them, but you choose to love them. And that's what God calls us to. And that's why I know that Zach and I will always be together, because of the commitment.
It's patient, it's kind, it's long-suffering. It is keeps no records of wrongs. And like Christ loves us, and that's evident through his commitment to us, how he died on the cross. So that's love to me. It's a choice, it's an action, it's a commitment. It's agape love. It's self-sacrificing, like Christ died for us. So that's how I view love. It's a choice, no matter how crappy that person treats you, or what kind of day you're having or they're having. You're never going to leave or forsake that person, just like Jesus never forsakes us. So that's love.
Probably a dog. Because of how loyal he is, and he's like your best pal, he's my best friend, so he's cuddly.
I think she would be a bear, because she can be gentle and nurturing, but at the same time, you don't want to get her angry sometimes, because you'll be in for quite the ride. It'd be her smile, her face. I'd be lying if I didn't like everything else.
I like Zach's muscles. And he has a nice butt. Is that what you wanted to know? Okay, that's embarrassing.
I like her hair a lot too. Like, I just like it all. Just a complete package. So, yeah.
His personality trait, I would say that he's loyal and he's faithful.
I like keep going back to this heart of gold thing. Like, her heart is just so unique and innocent and pure. I mean, obviously she's a sinner saved by grace, and she has evil going on inside of her. But I mean, Christ and the way he's worked in her life, like just the purity that she has. Even now, as we've grown older, gone through college, and I know going forward, like she still has that purity about her that I love. I discovered when I first started dating her was that we can sit in complete silence together, and it's not awkward. It's great. Like sometimes, like when we both have busy days and we just need to sit down and not talk, we're just with each other. Like that's fine. But we still you still have that time you're spending together.
It may not be his favorite thing, but my favorite thing is going on walks together.
Well, the most simple thing that we really like, just take walks together and talk.
I just feel like that's always when the Lord really meets us both, and we get to talk about what's going on in each other's lives, and it's a way for us to really connect and kind of get away from everything and de-stress. So I love going on walks with him.
As long as we're together, I mean, pretty much like anything that we're doing. Unless we're seeing a ballet. We tried that one time. Ballets, there's like no talking. It was just, it wasn't good. But, yeah. When she's thinking, she has a very, you think like she's angry when she's thinking. Like her thinking face is like, sometimes she'll have like a little twitch going on. Just like sitting there, she's like twitching. I'm like, you're twitching? She's like, I know. She laughs. She like sprinkles her nose up. It's like that. It's pretty cute.
It's not super clean, but like sometimes you just like gotta love it. Like he used my dish scrubber, and he cleaned my fishbowl for me with the dish scrubber, and then he put it back to clean my dishes, and I was like, oh, that's disgusting. But he just doesn't get it. So it's kind of lovable at the same time, even though it makes me so like, ugh.
I don't know. Everything about her is different, but in a good way.
Oh my goodness. Okay, he sings at the top of his lungs wherever he is, and I just think that that's so cute. And it's like whatever's on his heart, and you know that whatever song he's singing is, it's just like that's exactly what he's thinking about, and he puts his whole effort into that song, and it's cute. I like it. God has always set Zach apart in my life as a man for me to love, and I know he will always be there, and he's my best friend, and I can always count on him, and I just love that guy. He loves the Lord so much, and I see Jesus through him, and it just makes me love him so much more. So I would say that's probably the main reason.
I love everything about her. Like there's no one specific reason why. We talked earlier about some reasons, like idiosyncrasies, like all that stuff, like I love. But I just love her for who she is. I see Jesus in her. And she makes me a better man in Christ. I mean, why does Christ love us? Because we're us and he made us. And I guess I love her because God gave me her as like his gift to me. So that's why I love her.
Oh my goodness, so much. Like we haven't gone on vacation together, so that's a whole new thing, and living with a guy, and well, I live with my dad and my brother, but you know, living with Zach is gonna be different, and I look forward to cooking him meals and making him cookies and just life with him, my best friend.
Just being able to live and have life together. Because I mean, right now we spend a lot of time together, but it's like I was at the coordinate. Hey, when am I going to see you? She's still underneath the parents' house. I'm still underneath my parents' house right now. So just doing life together, like even like small things like paying bills together or doing the laundry together or things like that.
I don't know. We have a whole bucket list of things we want to do in our first year of marriage. So we want to go hiking, and he's never gone camping before. I know, never gone camping. So we're going to go camping, and I don't know. We just have a lot of things that we're excited to do. I want to have a kid with him. Raise children. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to like blessing her in the little ways. Like for example, doing the dishes for her, cleaning the shower for her. I'm looking forward to doing the small things for her. Because I feel like those show like the most like almost intimate type of love, because they're small things that you don't really think of, but they're like kind of like dirty jobs at the same time nobody wants to do. But like I would happily do that. Because obviously I showed her in a big way that I love her, proposing. I always tell her I love her, stuff like that. But like in the small ways, like this isn't just for show. I want to be able to serve her and love her in everyday life. When you get married, you graduate with your GED and your wife. And then as you keep growing in your marriage, you get your bachelor's degree and your master's degree and your doctorate, and you keep on learning about them as you keep going out through your life. So there's so much more I have to learn about her, and I'm looking forward to getting to know her even more.